Hello, welcome to the Classical Panoplies channel. This is the second of a series of 6 videos where I am going to talk about the accuracy of the Roman soldiers of the movie Gladiator from the year 2000. Today I am going to talk about the accuracy of the Centurions that appear in the battle of the beginning of the movie in Germania. As you can see, the way the Romans said the word centurion was centurio in singular and centuriones in plural. Reminder that the battle of the beginning of the movie in Germania is taking place in the Marcomannic Wars, which will be in the later years of the Nerva-Antonine dynasty. Let's start analyzing the centuriones from head to toe. Let's start with the chassis, which is the helmet. The helmet that appears in the movie is the exact same one that appears being used by all other infantry units of the Roman army, but the archers. Both the standard legionaries and also the equites use the exact same variant. However, the centuriones are using them with a black front to back horsehair crest, and some of them also had them painted, because this is not real metal, mimicking copper alloy, either brass or bronze. The helmet they are using is clearly inspired by the Trajan column, which was built in the year 113, just after the Secunditian War of Trajan. As you can see, it has a cruciform shape on top of the calotte with this style. However, they got it completely wrong. This helmet is fictional. It's literally based on the ones from the column. However, this is a very huge mistake. The reason as to why is because these helmets are most likely Baysenau helmets or Imperial Gallic helmets, and the reinforcement on top will be a couple of wire tubular or cylindrical tubes of metal, of iron, that were riveted on top to add more protection against the Dacian falx, which was a very powerful two-handed sword, which ended its tip in a kind of in a hook. So when they smashed that sword into the calotte of the Roman soldiers, it got straight through the skull. So they had to add this reinforcement. However, the one in the movie doesn't portray that properly. A very interesting thing about the centurions that appear along Trajan in this column is that they are not using any type of crest on top. This may be because, indeed, when facing this Dacian sword, due to its hook shape, it could very well grab that part of the crest and then pull the head of the soldier towards the enemy. So it will be extremely dangerous for them, and that may be the reason they decided not to use transversal crests. This is a very good representation of these guys right here by Giorgio Albertini. However, the problem is that this is almost 60 years before the Marcomannic Wars, at least the battle of the movie. So, do we have any evidence about which type of helmets centurions used in this period? Well, in the Tropaion Traiani, which is in Romania, we have this monument, victory monument. The problem is that it was built by Constantine. This is a copy of an original, but it was built by Constantine almost 100 years after. If the copy is exactly like the original, it will be indeed accurate, so to speak, to think that this is how maybe a centurion of this era would have looked like. As you can see in this spectacular drawing by Giuseppe Rava, he added him a near der beaver type of helmet with a two horsehair style crest on top. This will be not dangerous to use by them. Now, let's continue with the sagum, which is the woolen cloak. In the movie, the cloak is attached to some sort of rings on top of the humeralia. The humeralia are these are the shoulder plates, so to speak, and then they decided to attach there the cloak. This is fictional, this is not based on anything. In any case, if they wanted, they could have attached the cloak to this ring right here. Sometimes in art you see Centurions using the cloak only being worn on one side and then attached on that part of the ring of the shoulder guard. However, the most common type of the most common method of wearing a cloak back then was, as you can clearly see in Mozart, was having the cloak on the right side and then using a fibula, again, as you can see in this drawing by Giorgio Albertini. The cloak also seems to be way too long. Usually, if you are going to use a cloak in combat, it better be very, very small, otherwise everyone is going to step on it. About the color, we don't have any clue on which type of cloak or color for cloaks Centurions would have used, even more in a winter environment like this. So I will complain about that. I will complain, however, about the use of bracelets. This is total fictional. There is not one single evidence absolutely anywhere of the use of bracelets. You can see literally any art, both Greek, Roman, you will never, absolutely never see them. This is a total Hollywood made up thing. Let's continue with the Lorica musculata, which is the muscle armor. This is the armor that only Centurions use. I have to say that it looks beautiful. The biggest problem, however, is that it's supposed to be leather. We don't know exactly if the Romans knew about the technique of hardening leather, the cuir-bolí technique. If they knew about it, probably they use it. However, it's uncertain whether or not they knew about this. My other problem with this armor is that the teruges, which are these straps, all of these straps, also the ones from the shoulder, these seem to be glued or sewn onto the armor itself. This is wrong. It should be attached to a suarmalis, or which will be the ancient equivalent of the medieval gambeson, a padding armor that was worn inside the martial armor to create a proper protection, because using just the armor itself, if someone hits you, you are going to feel the impact. However, if you have a padding armor inside, that's going to indeed pad the attack. You're not going to feel any serious injury. Also, the armor, well, the Centurions in the movie are using the focale, which is the scarf. I won't complain. I won't complain about this, because the movie is taking place in a winter environment, so maybe they did use them in winter. However, this type of armor does not need to be used with a scarf. Okay, in fact, the scarf was started to be used with the Lorica segmentata, the segmented armor, because it was a little bit uncomfortable to be worn in direct contact with the neck. But with this type of armor, there is not really any need. Also, in the movie they added the cinctuculus, which is this sash belt, here being painted in this not very bright greenish yellow. I won't complain about the shape of it. As you can see, it looks very similar to the one of this statue of the Roman Emperor Nero. The problem is the color. It's very dull. It should have been way more bright, like some bright red, or maybe even just white. The last part, the tunic, looks overall right. The problem is that the part of the end is not properly sewn. You can clearly see some threads right there. People back then were very good at sewing things. They would have not had this like this. It will have a much better look. About the color, we don't know which type of color Centurions use for their tunics. We know, however, that the principales, like the Optio, the Aquilifer, or the Beneficiarius used white tunics. All of the guys that I mentioned were below the Centurion, but we don't know exactly if the Centurions themselves also use white, so I'm going to pass that. Now, about the use of the Lorica musculata itself by Centurions, this is very well attested in lots of monuments. For example, in the Glanum Mausoleum, although it's almost 200 years before the Marcomannic Wars, the man itself, you can clearly see he's using a muscle armor, very, very typical shape. So that's actually right. Now, in the movie, this guy right here, this is the only Centurion that is using a Lorica segmentata. The problem is that we don't have any evidence whatsoever of Centurions using this type of armor. Why didn't they use it? We exactly don't know, but there is absolutely no evidence, at least visually, of them using it. A type of armor that, for example, we do have evidence that was used in this period, for example, is this grave stele from Flavia Solwa. This centurion is clearly using what it seems to be a thorax status. And the thorax status, as you can clearly see here, in this replica of the thorax status from the Bocuse relief by Ferran Garreta, it's essentially like the Lorica musculata, but without the muscle. There is no muscle decoration. So this is a type of armor that a centurion in this era will have 100% used. A detail the movie got right is the use of the vitis, which is the divine staff. Here you can clearly see it. If you watch the initial battle, you will see that all of them are using it. Again, in this grave stele, we can clearly see that he's using a vitis, which was exclusive for the centuriones. Another big problem the movie has is that the centuriones are not using the scutum, the shield. This is almost suicidal because these guys were literally in the front line of the army. So not using a shield will be a very good way to die very fast. Again, in the grave stele from Flavia Solwa, we can clearly see that he's using a shield. This shield is probably a lenticular shaped shield, the typical one you will see in the late Roman armies. Some people think that that shield in particular was created in the 3rd century. That's wrong. The earliest evidence, in fact, is from the Antonine period. So yeah, this is a type of shield the movie should have portrayed for Centurions. Let's keep going with the Gladius. The one in the movie, I have to say that I like it. I don't have much to say about it. They got the lower part right. It has metallic protection. It has the typical 4 rings around the upper part. It has brass decoration with leather. My biggest issue is that a centurion would have had a way more decorated sword, especially the scabbard. As you can clearly see in this Gladius from Mainz, although it's much earlier, again it's almost 200 years before, it should have looked way more spectacular with more decoration. In this copy of this Gladius by Domus Artificis, you can clearly see how beautiful or how stunning these swords could have looked like. This doesn't mean that this sword in particular was the sword of a centurion. We do know that standard Roman soldiers could have very well had a sword of this type with this match decoration. The difference is that a centurion would have had a scabbard with this match decoration, but instead of brass it would have been gold, for example. So yeah. Now, the next part, the braccae, which are the long trousers. This is the only pic I have managed to find where you can clearly see them. Well, clearly, kind of see them. I don't have much to say, they look kind of alright. pretty much in line with the Dammendorf Barakai. These were from a Danish book. These are Germanic trousers. However, we do know that the Romans adopted or literally both or stole the winter clothing from both Celts and Germanic tribes. So this is something that Romans will have kind of used. You can clearly see that the dating is a little bit wide, the estimate, but they would have pretty much looked the same in both eras. Next part is the greaves, the ochrae. The ones of the movie are the overall style looks very similar to those of classical Greece or Hellenistic period, with this very anatomical design, you know. I won't give them as grom. However, my biggest problem is that the color it's supposed to represent blackened iron. This will be nonsense. A Centurion will have 100% have either a copper alloy greave or an iron greave, either silver, that is covered in silver, or gilt, covered in gold. You know, we have evidence of such type of greaves. Also in this era, they like a lot to add decoration with floral motifs or faces onto their greaves. But the overall design is not my biggest problem, it's the color selection. And the last part, the perones, the long boots. Again, this is the only pic I have managed to find with where you can clearly see the boot. They look very similar indeed to these perones, this replica made by Master Bogdan. They look kind of alright. I don't have much to say. So, what is the final rating for the panoply of the Centurions of this movie? Well, I have to give it a 4 out of 10. I have to say, however, that I like how they look. You know, I give them an 8.5 out of 10 when it comes to our overall aesthetics. However, I'm judging the soldiers of the movie from a purely historical perspective. Okay, this does not mean that the movie is bad in any way. In fact, the movie is spectacular. It's the first movie I ever watched more than 20 years ago about the ancient Roman world, and I fell in love from the very first scene of the battlefield. So yeah, this does not mean, I repeat, that the movie is bad in any way, but then I cannot give it more than a 4. They have certain details right. For example, the sword being worn on the left side, he's using a wittis. Also, Centurions sometimes use the greaves, but the overall aesthetic looks absolutely nothing like what a Centurion of this era would have worn, or would have looked like. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss all of the upcoming videos. See you on the next one.